Helen and Victor had spent nearly 2 years saving every dollar for a down payment on their own home. Every little sacrifice, no takeout coffee, no spontaneous cafe dates, no impulse purchases, was a step toward their long-awaited goal. And then the day came when Helen looked at Victor and said, "Vic, we did it." In her husband's embrace, Helen felt a happiness that couldn't be measured in money. Those years of strict budgeting, endless calculations, and quiet weekends had paid off. Their life together began in college, during a chance meeting at a science conference that turned into a long conversation over coffee. Helen knew by the next day, Victor was the one she wanted to build her life with. Living together felt like the natural next step. They rented an apartment, worked, and even took a symbolic seaside trip that strengthened their bond. It was there, amidst the sound of waves, that they decided to buy a home. Helen dreamed of a brand new apartment, something they would be the first to live in. Victor supported her and suggested choosing a project with the soonest completion date. Back home, they immediately went to the bank. The cost of their ideal place required a hefty down payment, but that only fueled their determination. Realizing that paying rent while saving was slowing them down, they moved in with Victor's parents. A 3-bedroom apartment in a quiet suburb allowed them to save quickly. Helen was initially apprehensive, but Victor's parents were kind and supportive, no interference, just warmth and respect. Within a year, they had saved even more than they had planned. Victor got a promotion, Helen landed some high-paying freelance projects, their savings grew rapidly. Life seemed perfect. One Sunday at lunch, Victor suddenly proposed. "Helen, will you be my wife?" A small red box, a ring, his loving eyes, Helen was overjoyed. Victor's parents hugged them with big smiles. She realized this was the moment she had dreamed of. They postponed the wedding to preserve their savings for the down payment. Helen was at peace with the decision. Money was the foundation of their future home. A month later, they registered their marriage. 6 months later, they became proud owners of a 2-bedroom apartment in a new building. The purchase was through assignment of rights, so it ended up cheaper than expected. Their parents chipped in financially, their happiness was complete. Helen was fully consumed by renovation plans. She met with designers, researched materials, scouted furniture. Friends recommended reliable contractors, which made things easier. Peace didn't last long. One day, Helen came home early to find a woman's coat and shoes at the entrance. Voices floated from the kitchen. Victor's mother, Teresa, was talking to a young woman. "Kate, you don't belong here." "Why not?" "I've been meaning to move to the city, and my son needs a good school." Helen froze. Her heart pounded. Victor called, asking what was going on. She said there were guests and asked him to come later. It turned out to be less dramatic. The guest was Teresa's niece, just passing through. Helen calmed down and enjoyed tea and pie made by her mother-in-law. The move was a month away. Helen and Victor discussed logistics, hire movers or do it themselves. Victor insisted on packing everything on their own to save money. Helen had doubts, heavy bags, bulky boxes, but Victor reassured her. Helen was reviewing her kitchen sketches when she heard voices again in the hallway. "Teresa, I'm serious. Living here is more convenient. Everything's close by, and school choices are better." It was Kate again, assertive as ever. Helen's peace evaporated. Her heart raced. "Kate, we have our own plans," said Teresa gently. "This is their home. You're only here temporarily." Helen tiptoed out, trying not to interrupt. But inside, her thoughts were spinning. Why now? After all we've sacrificed, why is someone else putting our future at risk? "Don't worry," Teresa said, noticing Helen's expression. "She'll be gone in an hour. Let's get back to the renovation planning." Helen nodded, but her thoughts were in turmoil. That evening, Victor came home and immediately sensed her tension. "What's wrong, Hel?" he asked, taking off his jacket. She told him the story, and his brows furrowed. "Maybe it's just a coincidence," he said. "We decide what happens in our home." "But it's his son," Helen whispered. "He lived with her. What if she thinks she has a right to intrude?" Victor held her hand. "This is our home. No one can disrupt what we've built." His words comforted her, but the unease lingered. A few days later, they moved. It took the whole day to load boxes and bags. Helen labeled everything meticulously: kitchen, bedroom, bathroom. "Vic, careful with those books." "Don't worry," he smiled. "I've got this." The move was harder than expected. Some furniture didn't fit through the doorways. They had to disassemble old wardrobes. But the laughter and teamwork made it bearable. The new apartment greeted them with empty walls and the scent of fresh paint. Helen felt overwhelming joy. It was their home, their little world. "Vic, look. This windowsill is perfect for morning tea. And we can hang paintings here. Let's just make sure we can still afford the mortgage," he joked. But soon, the joy faded. The same coat was back in the hallway, unannounced. "Kate." Helen called. "Are you leaving soon?" Kate replied calmly. "You think I'll just leave? We need to talk about the child." Helen tensed. This wasn't just a financial challenge, it was emotional warfare. Victor came home to find a tense scene, Helen pale, Kate laying out her things. "What's going on here?" he demanded. "I'm explaining this is our home," Helen began, but he cut in. "Look, we live here. My wife and I. No one else gets to interfere without our permission." Kate looked taken aback. "Fine. But my son will stay on weekends." "In our home?" Helen exclaimed. "That's not acceptable." Victor held her hand. "We'll figure this out, together. No one will tear us apart." The following weeks were tough. Kate would show up unannounced, leave things in the hallway, and try to arrange the child's life around her own terms. Helen felt helpless. "I'm exhausted," she told Victor. "I feel like this place is no longer mine." Victor hugged her. "We'll create rules. No one gets to bend them. Trust me." Together, they came up with a plan: scheduled visits, boundaries, and mandatory prior notice. They knew peace wouldn't come without clear rules. "We need to tell her firmly, no visits without notice," Helen said. "Agreed," Victor nodded. "And the son only visits on scheduled days." They drafted a schedule. Tuesdays and Thursdays after school, no overnights. Any change had to be pre-approved. When they explained it to Kate, she protested. "You're his father. He needs to be with you." "And he will be, but this is our home. These are our rules." Kate hesitated, then gave in. Weeks passed. Tensions eased. Helen saw that the key to peace was boundaries and united decision-making with Victor. "Look," she pointed to the windowsill with new plants, "I even made a corner with toys for your son." Victor smiled. "Perfect. We're creating a home for everyone, but protecting our own space." Even Kate respected the rules. No more uninvited visits. Helen threw herself into the renovation, tiles, lighting, decor. They shopped together, made compromises, laughed and argued. "I never imagined a place could feel so warm," Victor said. "Because it's our place," Helen replied. Budget constraints slowed them down, but every new addition, a cabinet, a lamp, brought joy. One evening, Helen came home to find Kate had left the child longer than agreed. "Vic, she broke our rules again. We'll handle it tomorrow. Tonight, let's just breathe." The next day, Victor spoke calmly but firmly. "Our schedule isn't optional. Please respect it." Kate finally relented. Helen felt relief. Conflict wasn't the answer, communication was. Months later, the renovation was complete. The apartment was bright, cozy, and full of life. Helen arranged textiles, decorations, every detail spoke of love. "It's perfect," she beamed. "Our space, our peace." They invited family, friends, even Kate and her son for a brief visit. Everything went smoothly. "You built a real home," Teresa said. "It's full of warmth." Helen smiled. 3 years of patience, sacrifice, and teamwork had paid off. "Vic," she said, sipping tea on the windowsill, "we made it. This is our home. No one can take it from us. We've faced trials and came out stronger. Now we have it all, love, peace, and our own apartment." Helen knew her dream had come true. Their home was the symbol of their love, strength, and maturity.